This is a Dragon Blazer production, and I am the little boogeyman.
Hello, Dad.
Hello, son.
Okay, you may have forgotten the thing. Whatever. Welcome to the Daily Bugle report. That is our name that we decided, and Dad, well, I did most of that, and Dad did some of that. We are doing the Daily Bugle report, and today we are reviewing... Well, I don't have it up right now. Oh, okay, I do have it up right now. I should have prepared more for this, despite in that. But whatever. We are reading Spider-Man. The entire comic. It is going to be a wild ride. And today we are reading it through The Amazing Fantasy 15. Which there are presumably 14 other ones aside from that we are not going to touch, because none of them have Spider-Man, and only this one has Spider-Man. This is also the last issue of The Amazing Fantasy, or, in other words, The Amazing Adult Fantasy, until the 1990s brings it back up, and to my knowledge, it's mostly Spider-Man stuff. But, after The Amazing Fantasy 15, Spider-Man actually gets its own comic. Today, we are reading the origin story of what a lot of people refer to as the greatest superhero that has ever been put to page.
It's a great one.
And that is...
love it.
Yeah, and that is my attempt at an introduction. After J. Jonah Jameson did that thing at the beginning of the other thing. I'm also going to try to look directly at the camera this time. Sometimes I don't do that. I hope this goes out very well. This is our first time. This is my first time recording in a while. But yeah. How continue? How did you like this chapter?
We should first introduce ourselves. I am one of your co-hosts, Stevie Blaze,
and I am Snowshine. I usually start off a video with an oi and a hello, so I'm just going to do it right now. Oi, hello, I am Snow, and welcome. We are now reviewing The Amazing Fantasy 15, but only the Spider-Man portion of it.
Only the Spider-Man.
It is, yes. There's actually 3 other comics in this. One of them is apparently Martian something. And apart from that, there's also, like, 3 different ads throughout this entire thing. This was published on, I think, April? I think it was published in April of 1962. I can pull it up right now. Okay. Amazing Fantasy 15. It was published... If it'll... go... Okay, so my phone's being slow. But it was published in 1962 by Stan Lee, who was the editor, colored by Stan Goldberg, inked by Steve Ditko, penciled also by Steve Ditko, written by both Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, and lettered by Artie Simek. If I butchered that, I apologize. It was released on June 5th, 1962. The first issue of The Amazing Spider-Man also got released in the same year, but much later on. And its cover was released sometime in August of 1962. That was 63 years ago. Almost exactly, because we're currently in August, and June was like 2 months ago. We're recording this in August, and hopefully it gets out pretty shortly afterwards. And for that reason, I anticipate a lot of things going on within this journey of reading this comic that is not aged very well. So far, though, none of that's really come up, so I don't see it too relevant to really to really dwell on. But I anticipate it. Why is this being slow, man? Oh, there we go. I just needed to click on the tab. Alright. So, this is the origin story of Spider-Man. I already know what I think about it, and I'll be sure to articulate a lot of that. What did you think, Father?
It's very familiar to what I'm used to in movies, TV shows, everything else. It was very closely resembled the Tobey Maguire first Spider-Man movie. I don't think most origins that I've watched other than that movie has the whole him becoming a wrestler and everything. I don't think that was in the cartoon. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've watched it. I found it very similar. The biggest, I guess the biggest change is how mean they kind of make him in the comic. Because in the comic, the guy runs past him and he just is like, "That's not my job. Somebody else can do it." Like, it was real. In the movie, they kind of give him more of a reason and excuse not to stop the guy, because the guy, the person that was supposed to pay him, screws him over in the movie. So it was
he's
kind of
being
a
much more
response.
petty.
Yeah, and this he's just being petty. Is like, "I'm not doing anything. That's not my job." So it was a little
that's
different
something I want
the way they did it.
That's something I definitely want to dwell on at some point. Dwell on, because this is that is a very interesting thing that seems to be quite consistent with how I remember Spider-Man being throughout some of the comics. This is mostly going to be a first experience. I've already read a bit of the first few comics, as well as a few that were like in a compilation type of book that was released relatively recently. I say relatively recently. It's like several years old at this point. But like recently in comparison to 1962. But yeah, Peter is rather I stretch the word selfish, but he's very selfish in this.
He literally really dislikes almost everyone besides his Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Like, he makes it a point that they're the only people that are nice to him, so they're the only people that he wishes to be nice to.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, he has kind of every reason to, but there's also like the personality traits he's exhibiting. The exact line, if I pull it up here, I gotta scroll down a little bit. Here it is. They're the only ones who've ever been kind to me. I'll see to it that they're always happy, but the rest of the world can go hang for all I care.
Yeah.
This strongly flags to me as the line of a potential villain.
Yeah,
I think that should be lingered on a little bit, because Peter Parker clearly has kind of the makings of a villain. He was shunned by his peers and attains superpowers and uses them rather selfishly. He at first wants to get some attention and maybe some money from like, showing his sense of superiority over like a traditionally much stronger burly dude. I use the word burly in the form of the wrestler Crusher Hogan, which, by the way, predates Hulk Hogan. and gets into like some sort of show business, likely for attention. Although he is smart enough to wear a mask throughout all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of the events in this comic were very closely adapted by the first live action Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. A few things I want to note here that movie changed is the fact that Tobey's Spider-Man um removed his eyesight got better, and his eyeglasses, he took off the eyeglasses once his powers surfaced. I don't know if I think there's a bit of an implication in this comic that he also kind of bulked up a little bit. Like, there's a few of these panels where Peter definitely looks rather fit, in spite of the fact that, like, in a lot of cases, I don't know if it's implied that he was weak before. I mean, he's definitely unpopular and nerdy. But I know that in later iterations of Spider-Man, Peter started off he had very subhuman strength, is the descriptor I remember. And that, like, he's also looked down upon by a lot of the jocks, which I don't think he looks like a jock even after becoming super Spider-Man, but he's clearly, he's very fit. He looks very fit. So I like the implication that becoming Spider-Man also kind of, made him bulk up a little bit, as well as, having superhuman strength, as well as, all the other stuff that he gets as Spider-Man. Another change is that one of the powers that he did get was not the, wow, this frame rate is acting funny. Whatever. This was the natural web slinging. He invented that. Peter Parker made that.
Yeah, that's in most comic book iterations. It wasn't until the Tobey Maguire that it became an organic thing.
And until the recent Spider-Man movie as well.
Which actually the new Spider-Man movie, they focus on they do give him the organic webbing, but it's basically because he's turning more spider-like, which is a comic book story called Man Spider, when he becomes like a giant monstrous spider. That was from the comics. They even talked about making him Man Spider in the new movie, and they decided not to do it because when they tried to, they said, we want kids to be able to enjoy this too. And the Man Spider looked terrifying. So they decided to kind of dial back the Man Spider story, where he still started getting a lot of the stuff that he got with the Man Spider comic storyline. But they just did not actually do the full transformation in the movie because it was apparently terrifying and they were worried about kids being terrified.
Right.
So, to my understanding, the Man Spider story is the only time he really does organic webbing. But I guess we'll find out when we reach these kind of things.
Right. But yeah, you're definitely right on the fact that, like, that was my first thought when I'm reading through this. It definitely seemed a lot like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, at least the first movie. Strongly took notes from this, from his origin with being an unpopular teenager to him becoming Spider-Man through a radioactive spider bite on his hand, which And this apparently is shaped like a spider. I mean, it's a burning spider bite, which, considering the fact that he's describing it as glowing, I don't know if that's supposed to be the spider on his hand. I think that's supposed to be the bite.
I'm not
Um,
real sure, but yeah, they also really implied that the bite definitely killed the spider. I don't think it always
yes.
dies in every iteration. One thing I am looking forward to, first off, the only main characters we get from Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy 15 is Peter Parker, Aunt May, and Uncle Ben. There's someone who might
Flash
be
Thompson.
Flash. Did they name him? I couldn't remember if he was actually named Flash or if he was just a random bully.
Yes,
who seems like
yes. One of the blue-haired girl in, I think, the second page. Yeah, page 2. Um, uh, in one panel she says, "Peter, for the upteenth time," which is not a word I was expecting to hear. I thought that was relatively recent slang, but I digress. "You're just not my type. Not when dreamboats like Flash Thompson are around." He
Okay,
also has a
so
T
Flash
on it.
gets named. So that means those are the only 4 main Spider-Man characters we've gotten in the first issue.
At least
Flash,
reoccurring.
Uncle Ben.
I think Liz Allen is also in here, but it's mostly implied. She's not named.
Okay. Yeah, we got no J. Jonah. We have no actual main villain so far. So no Green Goblin, no Shocker, no main villain is in this story. It's just
a guy with a on that same page, a guy with a very suspiciously Hitler-esque mustache is complimenting Peter Parker. It's like,
yeah.
"Wow, you're gonna have so many scholarships when you graduate, Peter. Allow me to
So yeah, there was
allow me to take you under my wing, Peter Parker."
There was only 4 main characters that are recurring in the first issue. So I'm very curious
I don't know
which villain
why I
we
keep
get
bringing
first.
up Hitler on each and every one of these podcasts I do.
Bad
Bad habit of doing that.
I'm guessing you might know since you said you've read ahead a little bit more. I haven't read anything past Amazing Fantasy 15. I'm not sure what the first villain Spider-Man gets, other than I guess technically the guy that shoots Uncle Ben.
Which, according to the wiki, and I have read a bit of the wiki, he is described as just the burglar. I don't think he's ever been given a name.
I don't think he has a name in the movie either. So
Right.
but,
Yeah, he's
so
just the burglar who is. Yeah, he was the burglar who robbed the. I think he robbed the bank. Did he rob the bank?
No, he robs Uncle Ben and Aunt May's and kills Uncle Ben at his house.
No, he before that, like
Oh,
"Stop, thief, stop him. If he makes it to the elevator, he go." Okay, they don't tell us what he steals or who he steals it from. But afterwards, like after, after he gets away in an elevator, also not something that I didn't know that elevators were a thing in the 60s. But now I know. Interesting. So, the word upteenth and elevators. Those are 2 things I was not expecting to see in this. But I digress. Yeah, he's allowed to get away, and then he runs off and, I guess, robs Peter's place. Very coincidental, I might add. Because I think there was shown to be a lot of houses around that area as well. Was there? No, it looks like just a run out of the mill, just place by the countryside, which doesn't really make it any less coincidental. Like, it would make sense if this was nearby the place where, if like this whole wrestling arena was nearby where Aunt May and Uncle Ben live, which I strongly doubt, because I doubt Peter would make that risk. And New York City is a really big place. This takes place in New York City. Um, so I don't know how many places this robber decided to rob. Um, but it is very coincidental that he goes uh, to Aunt May and Uncle Ben's, which is something that is altered in the movie, I recall, because I'm pretty sure he just, like, Uncle Ben is just in the city somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
he's driving
on the sidewalk.
He tries to steal his car. Um, Also,
Right.
because you know I love random facts, I have some answers for you. The earliest primitive elevator was built around 236 BC by the Greek mathematician Archimedes, who used hoisting ropes wound around a drum powered by men or animals. However, the modern passenger elevator with a safety brake was invented in 1852 by Elisha Otis, who installed the first commercial version in New York in 1857. So elevators had been around for 100 years by the time this comic came out.
Neat. I mean, not the whole slave part, but
I didn't know that elevators have been around that long either.
I mean, if they were around during like the, you know, BC era, then any BC era, slaves are probably involved.
They did say slaves were involved, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
just a simple like rope pulley type system. So it was that kind of elevator. The elevators we're more familiar with would be in the 1850s.
Right.
All right.
I Apart from that, I also want to point out. Let's talk about Spider-Man himself, namely his costume. Um, so it is red and kind of cornflower blue is the color I would call it. Um, and it also has a it also has like this kind of winged webbing underneath the arms, attached from like what looks to be his forearms
Yeah.
and down to his side. I have never seen that specific pattern of lining in any like live action iteration of Spider-Man.
Are you
I
talking
haven't
about
seen
the
all
webbing
of
on the armpits?
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been used. Maybe in one of the cartoons, live action, it's never been used. But yeah, that was. They've used it a couple times in comics. I'm not a big fan of it myself. I think it just. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But
I think it fits and it's an interesting design pattern. It's something I definitely had to get used to because it was strange. And it's also I don't think it's practical. Like it's I mean, I doubt it has much of a negative effect on him, but like it might, you know, pull on his wingspan. Again, because he has superhuman strength, it's not going to pull on him very much compared to his super strength. Uh but it doesn't seem practical. And also, the fact that Peter created this to begin with. Peter is a freaking genius, okay? First of all, 1960s, a lot of this could not be easy to do. He had to the fact that he is a bookworm and has already like ready to is already has the knowledge necessary to create the web fluid needed to do his webbings and also have like, you know, I'm assuming stylistic webbing. It's unknown if it's unclear if like that the underarm webbing is like is actual webbing that he created along with the web fluid or if that's just, you know, what's the word? If it's cosmetic. Cuz like I mean that's what it is ultimately. It is cosmetic, but it's unclear what it's made of. He has a lot of materials and for a lot of what I'm describing here, along with him getting, assumedly getting a lot more muscle toned, how is Uncle Ben and Aunt May not curious about what the heck is going on here with him? Like, we only get like 3 panels of either of them throughout the entire thing. Like, and it's them being like very caring parental figures towards Peter. His actual parents are never mentioned throughout this issue, which throughout with a lot of this, it's not exactly a question that we're meant to be asking, but it is a question I'm gonna ask anyways to later cement the later answer that I'm hoping eventually does in this comic, because I know there are comics like it that do answer that question, but I don't know if it's in the Amazing Spider-Man specifically. So I'm very curious.
I'm very curious why they chose to have him be with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Like, that was a decision to make his aunt and uncle be his caregivers.
My guess that I'm just now thinking of, it might be like it might be a decision to instill like an unconscious thing within the reader, because the way I read this, as I'm reading throughout this entire thing, is that Peter Parker has abandonment issues. That is something that I feel like is something that I'm supposed to think about Peter, because he's not only selfish, but the only 2 people he cares about is his aunt and uncle, which implies that he has abandonment issues, and he loves the 2 people who actually took him in more than anybody else.
Which seems to imply that his parents aren't dead, that they left him.
Yeah. So that's what I'm reading from here, because a lot of major development issues and whatnot is not going to be something that's spelled out in even like the fine print. You have to see it in their personality. And from what Peter is showing here, there shows a huge line of insecurity, which on the surface seems to be coming from his school life, or lack thereof. But there also might be a lot of that coming from the fact that, like, he knows that he has parents, because it's not those 2. They're, for one thing, they're way too old, but for another thing, he calls them his aunt and uncle, Aunt May, Uncle Ben. Like, he knows that they are not his biological parents. He just knows, like, they're essentially grandparents of a different type of thing. From a different, like, they might be his parents' aunt and uncle from that line. I don't exactly know the exact relation. I unless it's like a much older sibling sort of situation. One thing I also want to bring out, if this took place, if the setting here is in the 1960s, Aunt May and Uncle Ben might have been born in the 1800s.
It's possible.
I highly doubt it has anything to do with anything, but there's a good possibility that Uncle Ben fought in World War II alongside Captain America. Because this took place in the same universe as that.
So, I would say unlikely, because let's say he's what?
Probably not alongside, like literally, but I mean, like,
Let's say he was born in 1895. You said they could be, so that would make this, what is this, 62?
Yes.
So that would make it Hmm, the war would have been about 15, 20 years ago, which would make him about in his 70s. Um, that would mean he would have been fighting in the war at 50 or at the very least 45. And traditionally, people didn't fight that old. Normally, you send young people to war. So, unlikely that he would be in World War II. World War One, maybe. More than likely would be World War One, not two, because of his age.
Right.
Because
I
they're
highly
definitely
doubt that
older.
has much of it. Yeah, I highly doubt that has much to do with anything. But I will say on that front, this is in the Marvel universe. That stuff did happen.
Yeah, I know.
Like, Peter Parker probably looked up to Captain America.
Yeah.
I do know that in later things, like, we see that. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'll I'll wait until the next issue before I bring up anything else alongside that. Um, but now let's actually talk about uh, Peter's powers. Peter's powers, yes. Um, so a lot of it doesn't seem to have anything to do with actual spider powers. The radioactive, the whole radioactive thing is very much likely the culprit of most of his powers. It's mentioned that the spider gave all of his powers to Peter. And the most spider esque thing that came out of that was the wall crawling thing.
Well, um, kind of like ants. Ants are way stronger than their body should indicate. So
All right,
essentially,
let's ask Mr. Internet. How strong are spiders compared to their bodies, their
they're
body
also.
mass?
I would also argue that they're agile, so that he's got that. Um, Spider sense. I don't know if spider
I,
sense is a
I,
thing for spiders.
I don't think so. 8 to 10 times their own body weight,
Yeah,
which
and he's supposed to be 10 times stronger than a normal human.
okay, so maybe on the surface that's true. I don't believe it. Even okay, I'm not gonna try to get into the power scaling debate here, but with some of the stuff that we see Spider-Man do, especially later, he is way stronger than 10 times the natural strength of a human. Also, 10 times his own strength is not much
Well,
because
maybe he's
Peter
maybe
Parker is not.
he gets stronger. I mean, he might just work out more, and then that
Okay,
amplifies.
maybe I don't know. Um, other than that, so he has super strength. He has the wall crawling. Makes sense as he is El Spider. El Spider. What am I? What is wrong with me? Uh, we see him like utilize basically 3 powers at once when he's about to get hit by a car by some freaking jackass. Like trying to run him over with their car, being like, "Hey, get out of the road! I'll teach you never to be on the daydream and walk on the road at the same time." You almost killed someone, man. Uh, I mean, he didn't almost kill somebody, but he didn't know that Peter didn't have any powers. But he basically utilizes 3 powers at once to dodge that car. He jumps with super strength. He notices the car with his danger sense. With the danger sense, that's Deku's thing. With Spidey sense, and latches onto the wall of a building with his wall crawling. As you've mentioned, I don't think Spidey sense is anything really a spider has. And interestingly, spiders don't tend to have great eyesight. I think they're strong. I think they're based on movement. Their sight is based on movement. Are spiders eyesight sensitive to light? Spiders' eyes are sensitive to light, though they respond depends heavily on whether they are primary or secondary eyes in their specific lifestyle. What about What about just good in general?
I mean, they do have
Most
eight
spiders.
eyes. So.
Most spiders have. What?
I said, don't they have 8 eyes?
Yes, they have 8 eyes. They have poor eyesight by human standards and only detect light, shadow, or large shapes. Some of them have sharp, color-sensitive vision, and net-casting spiders have ultra-sensitive night vision that surpasses that of cats and owls. Okay, so some of them have very focused lines of eyesight. So even then, like, I feel like his eyesight should get worse. Rather than getting so much better, like he'd have to take off his glasses. But again, that could just be the same type of thing that you'd see with, like, both the super strength and the spidey sense. But also, his eyesight doesn't necessarily seem to get better here. And in the comics, it's not shown here, but I think there's like a special edition that I have read. Not really an edition, but more of like a here's a booklet that describes all the characters from the comics and whatnot, and and a lot of different types of events. And one thing that I've noticed is that Peter Parker doesn't technically need glasses. Aunt May got him glasses so that he would avoid eye strain. It was mostly just, I think it's just mostly her overly caring nature, rather than him actually, needing better glasses. And he wears the glasses because he loves his Aunt May. Although we do see one panel where he takes the glasses off, but that's when he's changing into a long sleeve jacket.
Right.
But yeah, those are his powers. He's very agile. He's very strong. He has spider sense. He has spider sense, which is not named in this. He just has really good sense of things that would normally put him in danger. What is he? What is he seen? He says that he can scale a wall as well as he can walk with his wall crawling. And yeah, here's the wording. It's the spider. It has to be. Somehow, in some miraculous way, his bite has transferred his own power to me. And interestingly, the art direction they decided to take is that, like, his fingers seem to be colored yellow here, which...
I did notice that. It was weird.
Yeah, I think that was supposed to center us to, like, the radioactiveness is like focused on his fingers. I don't think they're actually yellow. I think it just looks that way. It's the art direction that decided to be taken here, because later on his fingers stopped glowing yellow. It might have also just been a temporary glow.
I think it was just a way for the artist to highlight the fact that he has these abilities.
That's what I was pointing.
That's what I was just trying an artist's interpretation.
Yeah. But yeah, apart from that, going back to Peter's personality here, the way that I think the writers wanted us to think is that Peter was on the cusp of basically becoming like a sensational, like a menace, basically. He was on the cusp of becoming a villain, and probably a pretty nasty one too, because of the way that he can utilize his powers. He's very strong. He is incredibly intelligent, and I guarantee you, Spider-Man would not be nearly as great as he is if he was not as smart as he is. but he
Yep.
is, which makes him, which does make him incredibly dangerous. But by the end, we're kind of led to believe, like, okay, he's learned a very important lesson here, that with great power comes great responsibility, which is not a line from Uncle Ben, it is from the narrator. I do want to point that out.
Yeah. I
and
like that change in the movie. I like they changed it to Uncle Ben being the one that gives him that.
What I really like as well is that they kind of made sense. Uncle Ben did not know that he was Spider-Man, that he had, or I'm sorry, the man Spider at that point. He did not know that. He just knew, like, he was going through some stuff. Changes. I think going through changes. And another thing I want to point out, I don't know if we're supposed to linger on this. It was very quick, but when the police officer was talking to Peter, discussing it to him, first of all, very insensitive. He just kind of went and said, like, bad news, son. Your uncle has been shot. Murdered! Like, he was... The wording used feels very insensitive. And, Peter doesn't seem to question it at all. Like, he's like, what? He's been shot? He's been dead? He's dead now? And, like...
I also don't know if it was the best move on the cop's part to say, don't worry, here is exactly where he is.
But don't worry, we got it. We all got it completely taken care of. Even though, like, as we see later, they're not in a great position. First of all, wide out in the open. They're not even covering themselves. And, like, we definitely see, yeah, this is really bad. The dude can absolutely get away, and he can hold off a freaking army in there. I'm not sure if he could hold off an army in there, but, like, they could definitely hold off a bunch of exposed police officers who are not even trying to hide behind their police cars. But then, you know, and I don't know how much the police officer who told Peter about, you know, the whereabouts, but, like, a lot of them knew this guy could definitely get away. And this police officer is saying, like, well, here's where he is, but we're not gonna let him get away. Why would you tell him that? Yeah, this cop is not very smart.
No.
First of all, very insensitive. Second of all, it's like he's inviting Peter to try to take revenge on this dude.
I think just back then they didn't think about nuance very much, and it was just a matter of, we need to get Spider-Man to find this guy, so boom, cop tells.
Yeah. I understand why this happened narratively.
It would have been better.
I'm not talking about, like, the narrative.
I think it would have been better if Peter saw it on, like, the news. Because the news is going to tell you this stuff. They don't have any qualms about telling people this.
Then that also leads to another problem, which is that, like, this, like, how long has it been since since this began, if the news got to it before I did, or whatever? Obviously, that would be redundant because of that.
Well, it could be just a matter of the news is covering it, you know? They are covering it. It's like,
yeah,
we have a standoff with the police and a burglar at this warehouse. Boom. Spider-Man sees it on the news. Hey, I'm fast. I can get there. Probably would have been better, but they just was like, let's go with the cop.
Oh yeah, and the cop on the page directly after him telling the other cop telling him, like, hey, here's where he's at. Don't go after him, please. There's another cop that we see basically saying, your aunt is next door. The neighbors are looking after him. Wait! And he just stands there. He doesn't... Which, I don't know.
I will say that this version of Peter, I am kind of surprised he doesn't kill the guy. He actually just leaves him tied up with the webbing. He doesn't kill him. I think this version of Peter would have killed him.
I guarantee you he was intending to when he did that. It was the narrative coming to Jesus moment of him seeing the man's face. That snapped him out of it. And there's even kind of this unsettling panel with him where, like, his pupils, we kind of see his pupils through his mask. Very weird, but, like, it's supposed to, it's supposed to convey his utter surprise and dismay. Like, I could have stopped this.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
True.
Like, and like, I guarantee you, he showed up there expecting there to be more than just the red of his cloth on his hands. It was seeing the man's face that...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that revenge-wise, this Peter seemed like he would have made the revenge instead of trying to leave him for the police.
And that makes sense as to how he's conveyed, but I think this is what changed his personality to, like, for that. Like, we're seeing a new Peter Parker evolve as the mistakes he's made pile on him. He realizes, there's a good chance that, like, on the way home, like, he constantly thinks about this, like, do I kill this man? Do I have a right to? Like, am I the one who killed Uncle Ben? Is this man really a murderer, or am I? And, like, a lot of the questions he's asking, he would ask himself, probably aren't rational on his end. Like, a lot of the things he's done is very selfish, but he's also a teenager. So a lot of his flawed writing is centered on that. It's not flawed writing, it's his character flaws. Because he's a teenager. He's going to make a lot of dumb mistakes. He's going to have them pile on him hard because he's Spider-Man now. He has superpowers, and there are a lot of things that he couldn't do before. He probably still would have blamed him anyways. But now he has a lot of power, and he knows that. So it probably comes with the territory of, like, he didn't know about the whole responsibility bit, but he chose not to kill him because he felt responsible.
Right.
And then we get the panel of the thing at the bottom telling us, stay tuned for the next Amazing Fantasy. This is going to get its own comic book. The Amazing Fantasy is just done for the next 30 years.
Right. They found what they were looking for with Spider-Man.
Yep. And honestly, again, what a lot of people's favorite comic book hero is Spider-Man. A close friend of mine, favorite of Spider-Man. I think Remington is. I don't know if he's I don't know if he likes Spider-Man or Batman more, but he loves.
He likes
both.
Joker more. I think.
Yeah.
And he loves Venom and Miles Morales.
Yeah, I've grown quite fond of Miles Morales' character, and I haven't seen a lot of his character throughout the comics, but I think he was a good personality to be basically like the underdog Spider-Man in a world of other Spider-Mans.
Yeah, I like Miles.
I still need to play the Insomniac Spider-Man games though.
Yeah, they're good.
But things to expect here. First off, the personality that we see of Spider-Man is going to somewhat change because there's gonna be a lot of tragedy in his life. It's gonna be a bit of a slow burn, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's core development of Spider-Man.
Yes. major development is that, like, he's a teenager and he's doing a lot of teenager things at the same time as being a superhero. And that's a very relatable thing to a lot of people reading this, because a lot of people are probably going to be teenagers. A lot of people are going to be children. Children who go to school, children who want to be superheroes. And this guy's both. This guy is both a school student, a model school student, as well as basically the unpopular kid who suddenly got a bunch of powers. A lot of kids would do a lot of unfortunate stuff with superpowers if they suddenly got a hold of some. And as we see here, we learn that that is not a good decision, but it's sometimes probably just an inevitable one, because kids are going to do some really unfortunate stuff with power that they've never had before, power that they have no experience dealing with, and could get one of their loved ones killed if they're not careful. Spider-Man is learning a very unfortunate lesson here, and the lesson here is likely meant to basically parody other superheroes as this is what would really happen in some cases, because a lot of people want this. But as the great All Might once said, with great power comes a hell of a lot of paperwork. Sometimes just it's not as great as it seems sometimes. Or you could be extremely selfish and continue to be selfish, and the bodies keep riling up and up and up on your conscience. And for all of the slow burn, I am very excited to read more of Spider-Man, and I'm sure that was what a lot of people thought when reading this, because he was very popular. This introductory thing made him very popular. A lot of people, I imagine it has to also do with a lot of the color work. Red and blue is a very good look on Spider-Man. And a lot of the other colors, really nice too.
All right, well, where can we find you?
Well, if we're doing final thoughts here, yeah, absolutely. I am... Shoot, I have not done this in a while. So I am... Yeah, go ahead.
All right, you can find me at Dragon Blazer Productions on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You can also find me on the X at Dragon Blazer Pro.
You did not just call it the X. You just call it the X.
Called the X now.
I'm smelling something musky in this room.
I've gotten used to calling it X now. It's that's what it's been called for the last 3 years.
Something smelling very musky right now.
You can also find me. You can also contact this show at Daily Bugle Report or Daily Bugle Review at gmail.com. That was the name we were going to go with, but we actually liked the Daily Bugle Report better, so the email is actually based on our previous.
And I am Snowshine, and I am Snowshine on YouTube, as well as I don't remember my tag on Instagram. I don't use Instagram very much anymore. But I am Snowshine Art 03 on DeviantArt, which is where I mostly post my my art stuff on it anymore. It's where all my art stuff is now. Most of it, at least. But if you're interested in any of that, that's where that is. I have I've some very old drawing videos on my YouTube channel, and as well as the D&D campaign that we did a while ago, which I need to upload the final episode of that. It's well over a year old. I still need to upload that, and we're about to start a new campaign, which I might put on a different thing. But that has nothing to do with Spider-Man, so if you're not interested in D&D and whatnot, then ignore that. But those are my plugs. I am Snowshine, and I am signing out. Peace.